Hi, everybody. Welcome back. This is the Y Music Festival 2024. I hope you're enjoying your day so far. We've had a couple of amazing guests already today talking about ABRSM and what they do. And now I am very, very pleased to welcome in the amazing Chris Clark, who is a teacher, he's a performer, he's an amazing person, great dad, all of the above. Chris, welcome to the Y Music Festival. How you doing?
Really good, mate. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited to talk to you and hopefully impart some wisdom to the youth of tomorrow and today. Sorry, but yeah, how are you, mate? I haven't seen you for a little while. Keeping well?
I'm all good. I'm all good. I'm excited about this. It's not often that we get to talk about what you do and just the things that motivate you and inspiring young people. That's what I'm all about, and I know that's a massive part of what you do as well.
Oh, dude, like 100%. Yeah, for sort of context to sort of echo what has been said very eloquently and politely about me, which makes me feel wonderful inside. I'm a musician, bass player, but I've got a massive part of my passion and drive with music is to work with young people and help deliver some skill sets and some resources to help them get invested and follow a creative path, which then hopefully can open doors and creative expression, to lots of other people. So, but yeah, so thank you so much for having me today. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Nice. The pleasure is all ours. Trust us. Trust us. Before we even get started, I always think it's really cool for people to see you in action. So I've got a short clip that I'm going to play for people just so they can see you in action. All right, here we go.
Woo! That was me.
That
uh,
was you with your band Daytime TV.
yeah, so I've got an originals project, which is my sort of passion, really, which is that band there, which is four best pals making rock music, really. So called Daytime TV. That song was called So Sick, which came out uh, May time this year, I think, maybe. So fairly recently. But yeah, support's been really great. We've been getting a bit of Radio One traction, and there might be a couple of opportunities where that song may land on some computer games in the future. Winky, winky. So keep your ear to the ground, which is cool. So yeah, but I mean that's one of my main outlets on a creative level, I suppose, is playing loud, fun, energetic music. Um, but yeah, but I play all kinds of music as well. But that's a massive part of me and my identity. I guess like I've been from when I was really young. Actually, I've always sort of had that dream of being in my own band with friends and going and doing that. And I've sort of have never stopped aiming for that. So I've been very, very fortunate to have some amazing experiences and those doors opening lots of sequences in my life, whether that is for other musical opportunities or like some teaching off the back of people seeing me play, that kind of thing. But yeah, for the most part, I'm a bit of a rock dude.
We're very interested in this festival about skills like that. That's really, oh bless you. That's really like what we want to try and draw out are just some of the things, some of the skills that you use in your everyday practice, whether that's being a bass player. We had so many people on like the other day who were talking about the skills that they use for running a band, or just organizational skills and all those kind of things. So yeah, that's one thing we really want to bring out of today. It's just the things that you use in your everyday life that in some ways maybe you didn't even realize that you needed, the skills that you weren't told that you needed, that over years you're like, oh, okay, actually I need to be better at this, or there's this program on my computer that I never thought I'd use, but this is actually really important, or this app actually is
Yeah.
really. But before we even get there, I'm really curious, like, why the bass? What attracted you to playing bass?
Okay, so I am unbelievably fortunate to have come from quite a like a musical family. So I lived with my grandmother, my father, and my brother and my mum, and everyone apart from my mum played. So my grandmother was a pianist, my dad guitarist and drummer, and my older brother was a guitarist. So we had like a little band lineup, but the only one missing was bass player. So I started playing bass, and I moithered my parents to buy me a bass, which they couldn't afford, so they found one in a skip, and I've still got it. Uh, but yeah, so that's how I got really into it. But I can remember, I must have been in primary school still actually, and I remember telling my recorder teacher that I was giving up the recorder to pick up the bass guitar, and I think she was kind of like thought I was lying. I don't know, but she wasn't terribly supportive, but a bit like, oh, okay, yeah. But then that one decision then has dictated every step of my life, because I just love playing bass so much for music as well, that then every opportunity or decision has been subconsciously, well, how does that affect my ability to play bass? So but yeah, so that's how I started. I've still got that like skip bass. It doesn't play very well. I don't think it ever played very well. I once, this is a funny story. I once took the bus to school, and I left my bass on the bus, and I didn't realize for a couple of days, and then was like, long gone. Someone's taken it, but it was such a skip bass that people just left it on the bus because it wasn't worth taking. So I found it the next morning on the bus again. So
Oh, wait.
yeah. But yeah, it's I've been very fortunate to now upgrade from the skip bass. So, but yeah, so yeah, so basically, I was really supported in terms of a family dynamic, with music being part of what we did. And my dad actually had like a sort of jam band where his pals would come around the house and play music every Thursday, and their bass player would often turn up late, so I'd get to like jump in with those dudes, and I was like 10, 11, and play some tunes and stuff, which was cool.
Maybe that's a little piece of advice there. Just take any opportunity you can to jump in and play with people who are ideally a bit better than you as well, right?
Dude, I could not agree more. I think I've always sort of had that mindset where like, if you surround yourself with people or music that you find inspiring and potentially challenging, might be the wrong word, but maybe just slightly above your confidence level in terms of execution. So if you surround yourself with players like that, you have to meet that, and then all of a sudden you develop a lot quicker. I was like that as well when I was growing up. I wasn't very good at jazz, so I was like, took jazz gigs and played with some jazz bands because I was so out of my comfort zone. But then I felt a lot more confident in my playing afterwards because I was able to keep up, and then learned a lot about myself and the way that I learn music as a result. So, but
Wow.
yeah, but oh, sorry, but yeah, just taking every opportunity to play with everybody all the time is
Yeah,
the funnest way to do it as well.
yeah. We had Dot Inc, a producing duo, on
Cool.
the other day, and one of the things they talked about was being obsessed with it. Right? It was just that thing of, that's what I do. That's all I do, and just that layers of focus to to get better, to take this opportunity. Lee was talking about producing for friends at university, and in retrospect thinking, all right, maybe the beats weren't great, but everyone loved it, and it was just fun and it was enjoyable. So it's like, right, cool, I keep going, and how can I get this better and get this better? Just little things along the way over years mount up to big things over time, right? So like, could you tell us a little bit about how you have got to this point? Because for many young people, they might be maybe 3, 4, maybe 5, 6 years into playing an instrument. Maybe they haven't had a gig yet, right? Or maybe they've had a couple and are thinking like, how do I even become a music? How do I get to the point such as yourself, who are traveling around the world, on a regular basis, playing your instrument?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's that's a fantastic question, and I think I want to say that everyone's journey is probably independent of their own vibe and the people they meet and the way they play. But I think as a sort of 101 guide to making yourself a bit more successful in that professional field would be just a consistency of doing your best on your instrument, and people notice, in my opinion. So if you have the opportunity to meet a friend, to go and jam some music, and then your friend will mention your name to somebody else, and then you might get asked to jam with somebody else. And then that new friend might then tell two people, and there's two more, and then all of a sudden your like name starts spinning around your local area, and then after a little while you were the guy in your local area, and then the next town over or village or school might hear about there's this dude who is really into playing whatever instrument, then your local network might sort of come around that way. And I think that that sort of method of like networking via like word of mouth is what I guess you would describe it as, then just transcends levels and levels and levels. And then all of a sudden you're like the guy from Birmingham, and then you might get asked to do something in Manchester, and then it just builds up and up. But then I think a massive part of that then is if you just always do your best with the music, and then you'll get asked to do gigs, and then if you do your best on the gigs and put lots of effort into it, that really does get noticed, and then people gravitate towards you for your musicality, your professionalism, to get the music happening really well. But then I do feel that there's a massive part of that seesaw is one side is like the ability to like play the parts or play the music that is required accurately and be an active presence in the rehearsal or on stage, but the other half is your ability to just be a lovely person. And I'm not saying that I'm a lovely person, but I do my best to be uh, uh, like as much fun as possible. And and if anybody is feeling down, cheer them up, and like we're gonna have a great time, and just sort of be that little fountain of energy. And I think that that is a massive part of getting recommended, because when you think of someone, the first thing you like think of is maybe on a subconscious level, do I like that person? Well, yeah, I do. They're loads of fun. They're really lovely and pleasant, and they're really kind. Then that goes a long way between you and the guy that might not be, but he might be the same level on in like terms of playing. So I think for me, it's always been a part of my sort of ethos and etiquette is just trying to maintain that level of like, I want to be a person I want to hang out with. So, and I put that into my private life and my professional life. And I think that that in general has afforded me some opportunities where people might, you know, ask me to play on this person's record or go to this place and do a show for this person, or to, you know, generally, someone once told me that your vibe attracts your tribe. And I don't know if that's super like hippie, but I think that that's something that I kind of relate to, where like if you put out a really good vibe and a good energy and a presence, and music goes hand in hand with that, then people want to hang out with you because you're just a like-minded player. Was that a bit too deep? Sorry.
No, no, no. I think that's great. We actually have a hand up.
Yeah.
I don't think if whoever it was, please write something in the chat if possible. Um, and then we'll get to your question for sure. We'd love to hear from you all.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to ask actually, like, and comment on first of all, we had Suzanne Aston on
Yeah.
the other day, who you know as well, and she said exactly the same thing. It's so much of being a musician is it's not even about being on stage, right? There's so much time, whether it's traveling together, eating together, it's just hang out in the dressing room waiting to go on, or there's so much time that you spend with each other. It's important to get on with people, and so it's not always about you're the best player we could find. It's like, are you the player who can do the job properly, and also if we're in a room together for 2 hours, we can get on and everything's all right.
100%. Yeah. I mean, let's say if you're traveling abroad for a weekend and you're on a bus for 23 hours, and then we get off the bus for 1 hour to go play. That 23-hour window is like a big part of the experience for everybody. So it has to be as good as possible, really, I think. But yeah, that's I'm glad that she echoed the same sentiment because she's a lovely person too.
Absolutely. Let me see if Joanna, I'm not sure if your hand is still up, if you still wanted to ask, but please let us know, and I think we can unmute you actually.
Yeah, cool.
So we want to ask as well, daytime TV.
Yep.
You've talked to us a little bit about daytime TV already, but could you just talk to us about the process of like starting your own band? Because I'm sure there's many people listening who are really interested in starting their own band. Maybe they have one already, but to get to the point of starting your band versus having a music video and being on tour and doing some really cool support tours and stuff. Like, could you just tell us a little bit about that process?
Yeah, I think it's I'd say it's quite a romantic process, really, because it's something in my head that so many of us want as creative people. We want to work with other creative people and create something new and take that as far as you can. I think for me, when it goes from taking that idea and finding the right personnel and buddies to make it work, that can be the hardest bit, in my opinion. And then when you've got like a core of people that you really get along with, and then if the music clicks as well, no matter what happens, it's going to work, in my opinion. But that's can be the hardest bit. But in terms of the journey from sort of taking it from its infancy of a concept or an idea, and then, you know, rehearsing and writing songs and getting a demo together and sending the demo to someone that puts on gigs, who then puts you on a gig, that in itself is quite a long process. But then that's the first in like a 100 link chain of like lots of little things that need to happen consistently and piggyback from the previous activity. So, for example, in daytime TV, we are very fortunate that the members of the band have played together for a little while, so we know how each other tick really well. So the music, it we're not as um, worried about it because we've sort of written a lot before. So it's kind of at a point where we can anticipate each other's moves a little bit. Um, but then we've got a label deal, we've got a booking agent, a manager, a lawyer, a promoter, a radio person, all these people, front of house, sound guy, like when we're active, there's quite a team, but it's just finding all those people does take a little bit of time to get all those situations in line. But I think like one of the main things at first for like any band before you start thinking, oh, there's so many people that we need because Chris said we need all these people. It's ever evolving and changing. You know, we just need these people at the moment. But what I'm trying to say is that I think moving forward, the music industry is forever changing, and maybe there'll be more access to doing your own thing. I mean, because you can release your own music on your own now. You don't need a record label. One thing a record label does have is connections and the ability to help make things happen still. But when it comes to recording an album, you don't need someone to pay enough to buy a house to make an album. It's not the way it works anymore. That's why record labels existed. They were like really fancy banks. But now, we can all record music to a pretty decent level at home. Um, and we can learn how to mix at home, or just send your files on the internet to someone and they can put it together for you. And all of a sudden you have a really coherent, buzzy product, which is from right now. It's not getting recorded and then a label sitting on it for 18 months until the right time, in their opinion, to drop it. You're part of the current musical environment. Um, but I definitely do feel that my top tip for any band, if is just to do it because you love it and take every opportunity and take every gig as well. I think that would be my my main thing. Kind of like I was saying on a local level of getting to meet other players. If you do that with other bands, you meet other bands, and then all of a sudden you might find that this band who met you in Birmingham, let's say, have got a gig in Worcester, and they want someone to come and play with them there. And then all of a sudden you get invited to go play Worcester, and you meet another band who are from Manchester, and then all of a sudden you've got a bigger UK footprint in terms of places to play and fans you picked up on the way. And that natural collection of people who are into your project will then, in my opinion, still dictate other entities in the music industry that might be interested and ears will prick up. Whether that is a BBC introducing show, which is still an amazing thing that we have, to upload your music to hopefully get it on your local radio, and then that gets filtered to main radio. Or like we have a really strong festival basis in the UK still. So if you can impress people in like an area and there's a festival there, there's a good chance that if you get in touch and say we've done this gig and this gig in like these towns near your festival, can we come play? 9 times out of 10, they'll be like, that's a great idea. Thank you for not like making me have to think about it myself. Yes,
Yeah.
you know. So I think just a level of proactiveness, whether that is writing and recording and meeting, but just it's totally okay as well, in my opinion, to try and reach out to people that you might be a little bit intimidated to, or like, oh, I can't message a festival, we're not ready. Just do it. What's the worst that can happen? They say no, and the best thing is we get to play, you know. But
Absolutely.
yeah, so that is something that but yeah, I think I've meandered off the question a little bit there, sorry, but I guess
No, no, no. It's all great advice. It's all really, really
yeah,
interesting. It really resonates with me that that sort of, reaching out to people and, festivals, or venues who you think, oh, they're probably not going to say yes, but you never know. You really never know.
100%. Yeah, I mean, there's if you're into a certain style or scene, I would be like my my like go-to would be find a band or artist or act that you would love to be as big as. It doesn't need, but like I'm not saying like start with Taylor Swift. I mean like on like a sort of regional level, someone that you really respect. Find out who books them. Do they have a manager? How do they distribute music? And do they have a promoter that books them? And then just reach out. And if there's a promoter that books them, be like, hi, any chance we could open up for them at some point? We're really big fans, blah blah blah. And then, you know, again, like, I think that if you can present yourself in a really passionate, personal way, and also alleviating any kind of potential uh, thought process for that promoter to be like, well, I don't know who to put on that gig. I did get that email from that really lovely band that would be perfect. I'll do them, you know. So, but yeah, for me, it's just it can be hard to like fit it all in the day. But I think that when the music is there and you're passionate about it, you can't help but not do everything because that's what you want to do, you know. So back to my first point, I think the most important thing is to just find people that share your passion and just write music all the time. And the music will be a byproduct of your cohesion together as like musical people. I think that's the most important thing I have to say. Just the music is the most important.
I agree with you there. I definitely agree with you there. Um, the title of this session was, "What is a session musician?" So, could you like briefly just
Yeah,
describe, as what you
yeah.
see?
In terms of session playing as well. So I've obviously I don't just do my own band. That's something that I do because I'm passionate about it and I want to try and push that to make it as big as it can be. But I've played for lots of different people. So bass guitar for a couple of like acts on major labels, like as pop star people, whether that is playing live or recording. But that in itself is a semi-unique skill set. Whereas you are there to fix a problem for somebody. The problem is they don't have a bass player. That's it. That's their problem. And the next day, it might not be a problem because I don't need a bass player. It's not like the band has to have someone there consistently. So I normally go in that situation and it's like, uh, we've got this song, we've got an idea, but we want to hear a bass player's thoughts and put down what you think would fit around this kind of thing. But that comes from just being really hyper focused on my instrument. And then that same network of getting calls to help out because there's been a word of mouth started. We need someone to do this. Do you know anybody? I'll ask so and so. And then so and so said my name. Um, so it's all very similar when it comes to word of mouth. I don't think you very often see like a job advert being like looking for session player for like a recording session, which can be a little bit annoying because it's like, well, how do I meet these people? And you meet these people by just doing it.
Yeah, yeah, just by being in the spaces and playing and letting people see what you can do, right? That's how it all starts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'd say that because there's quite a lovely age range of younger people here today. But I'd say that if any of you are of the age where you can go with a parent or a guardian to like some local jam nights, that's always a great way to meet other people in your area as well. You know, because that's where the people who are musically inclined generally go and socialize. So if you could go and do a bit of playing at like a jam night, then people get to know your face and know your name, and then that might start the sort of circle in your little town a little bit. But yeah,
Absolutely.
in terms of back to I guess like sort of playing as a session player, I think that you are the one thing you need to be very hyper focused on is I think your like musical ability. So really, really practicing, getting really good at playing in time, understanding what is meant by like key signatures, so you know what notes not to play unless you choose to play them, um, and then understanding how that stylistic tendency might work in that genre. So if you do a session for like an R&B band, it might be different to a punk band. Like um, how do I change what I play on bass? How do I make it sound more aggressive? Do I need to play with a pick? Do I need to like put a bit of distortion on the amp? Or like if it's something really silky and smooth, do I really need to play towards like the neck and open and roll the tone off and just really try and fit in with the other instruments in that scenario? So I guess that from that element, really just listening to loads of music and playing along will kind of do that for you as well, you know, because I think when it when, like when you get asked to play for somebody else, it's because they see you as someone to fix the problem, not to add another problem because you don't quite know what to do in that scenario. But you can always say, I can't make that session, sorry, if it's like if someone asks you to play a style of music you're really not comfortable in. um, so for context, this year I've done live work for a really, really, really heavy, heavy, heavy band, and I've done live work for a girl band, which are like polar opposites of the spectrum. But I'm confident enough in my ability to like recognize what makes the heavy band sound heavy and then what makes the pop band sound unbelievably polished and beautifully clean, which is polar opposite really. But yeah, so I think maybe I'm just a bit silly, but a lot of like people wouldn't take both those sessions, but I did because it's such an unbelievable opposite of music. I found it like a good challenge to push myself in that direction. Um, but yeah, I guess that's a whole other topic. They're like pushing yourself into uncomfortable spots and seeing if you sink or swim musically.
And I think so much of what we do is just that. It's saying yes and then being like, okay, all right, let me
Yeah,
let me figure it out and just take the time to figure it out, and then maybe, and then I've often found sometimes getting into those situations where, like you said, going to a jam session and feeling like, oh my gosh, there's so many great players here, I can't do this. Getting on stage and you realize actually your your ability is much sometimes often is better than you realize, and people don't hear the same mistakes and the things that you think are wrong.
yeah.
They hear something very different. So this often there's so many times I'm sure you come off stage and you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that, and people are like, that was amazing, thank you so much, I love when you did this, and you're like, you didn't hear the rest of it. Oh, okay, cool, right. And then
Oh,
it's helped you
yeah,
to realize, like, it's no one's gonna there's it's not that deep, right? Like,
no, yeah,
making
totally.
mistakes, it's really not, and people remember the good stuff way more than they remember the mistakes most of the time.
No one wants to remember bad times. They just want to remember good times.
Yeah,
And you're there to make great music and for people to have a wonderful day.
yeah,
And that's what. And if that's the aim, and if you make a little mistake that you notice, I mean, it's happened to me like so many times where I feel like I could have done a better job, and I've come off stage at like an event and been like, oh, that was a shame. And it was like, that was amazing. And I was like, really? And like, that was the best I've seen you play. And I was like, oh, okay. But then that's but then on one hand that's quite a nice reaction to have, because if you have that relentless strive to try and be as good as you can be, then that means you're always going to be getting better. So I'll know if there was that one thing which I felt that I slipped up on, I know that when I'm practicing or going over stuff, I'll make sure that if it was a certain kind of change or a certain kind of rhythm, or that's the kind of thing that I'd focus on. So it will kind of like my subconscious will target that as something to work on. So, but yeah, I find that I try not to make the same mistake too many times.
yeah. That's it. We learn from our mistakes, right? um
Yeah, absolutely.
just before we go, just a couple of like quick fire questions, and then we're going to do our giveaway. So
Sure.
really quick, if you could play another instrument, what would it be?
Piano,
All right.
piano, 100%. Just because the bass guitar and guitar is tuned a certain way. So there's lots of notes that repeat in pitch. So it kind of makes sense if you're stuck in a position, but the piano makes the perfect sense. It's like low to high, one way. That's it. It's like, whereas a guitar, it's like overlapping. So it takes a little bit of focus, but yeah, piano. Sorry, that wasn't a quick answer.
Oh, that's all good. That's all good. What's your favorite dessert?
Dessert. Oh my goodness me. I uh, sticky toffee pudding and custard.
Oh, nice, nice.
Not a
And
good day.
what's the last track that you listened to?
Last track I listened to. Oh my days! I'm gonna have to double check the name. It's a American guitarist called McKee, so MK.GEE, and the song I just can't believe how good he is. I'll tell you right now. The song is called "Are You Looking Up?"
Are you looking up? Okay.
Yeah, I that dude is doing stuff on guitar which we're going to be copying in like 3 years' time.
Oh,
Amazing.
really?
Yeah.
Is it instrumental?
No, it's like singer-songwriter, but his approach is like really unique in terms of sound. So he plays like a baritone guitar, which is like a longer guitar, so a lower tuning. But he does sort of like singer-songwriter, really kind of like Ed Sheeran type chords on it. But it
Yes.
it just sounds completely different.
Okay.
I think I think one said like someone like Eric Clapton came out and said he was the most exciting guitarist on the planet like yesterday, or something of
Wow.
that ilk, where it's like, oh, I guess he must be a big deal then, you know?
Yeah, yeah. That is someone to look out for. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
have a listen to it and maybe put it in the rotation as we go on throughout the rest of the
yeah.
day. Thanks for that recommendation.
No
Um,
worries. I hope you enjoy it.
yeah, I'm sure we will. Before we go, we have a guitar bundle courtesy of ABRSM to give away.
No.
So if you could give us a little drum roll and I'm going to pick
Sure.
someone out.
Okay, ready now? Uh,
The winner is, let me see. Ooh. Okay, Rory from Touchstone. So we will be in touch, Rory, and we'll get a bunch of awesome guitar picks.
wow, that's amazing. Well, congratulations, Rory. Hope you enjoy that.
All right, perfect. Chris, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
It,
And yeah, hopefully, in the future we're doing something else like this. We can get you in front of kids in real life and maybe do
oh,
a bit. That'd be
love that.
amazing.
It's been such a pleasure chatting to you. I just feel like the time has flown by.
It has. Yeah,
Yeah, awesome. Well, hope everyone has an amazing day and enjoys the rest of the festival. And thank you so much for organizing it.
no problem. You take care of yourself, yeah?
Okay,
See you
see
soon.
you soon, buddy.